Welcome back, everybody. We're going to take a look at custom scales on the Axe-FX3 today. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen this clip yesterday. And I'm going to show you how to do that and a whole lot more in this video. Before we get started though, this is one of those features that I think really makes the Axe-FX3 a deep piece of gear. So many people focus on it being a powerful piece of gear. How many effects can you run at the same time? How many different amp models are there? How many different ways can you route your signal? But custom scales is a different thing. It allows for a level of customization and it lets you do things that you can't traditionally do with like a pitch shifting device or a pedal or something like that. It's a testament to the fact that a lot of the time, if you know what you want to do, you can probably achieve it somehow on the Axe-FX3, and that's the reason I love this thing so much. Not only does it sound really, really good, it's got this depth to it where you can just keep exploring and keep being really creative with it and actually use it to inspire you to make new music. But before we do that, we're going to start with a classic example and we'll go from there. Let's do it. Let's start with a concrete musical example. In my opinion, this is the best way to illustrate the why and the how for custom scales. So let's begin with the Thin Lizzy song, The Boys Are Back in Town. The lead guitar harmonies in this song essentially are diatonic thirds from the A-flat major scale. However, there is one note that instead of being harmonized with its diatonic third, is harmonized with its diatonic fourth. So if we just went into the diatonic pitch shifter in the Axe-FX3, we wouldn't be able to get that fourth interval. So what we can do is we can create a custom scale, and the first thing we kind of have to do is map out the notes. So my guitar's in E-flat, Thin Lizzy tuned down to E-flat, so it's going to look like I'm playing in the key of A, but I'm actually technically sounding notes that are in A-flat. If that's confusing, don't worry too much about it, just try to listen. So the notes that are harmonized using diatonic thirds are A-flat, B-flat, C, and D-flat. So the diatonic thirds would be, and there's this E-flat note on the top, whose harmony is a perfect fourth, so it would be A-flat. Now, what we would have to do when we program this custom scale is go in and go, okay, cool, A-flat is going to go all the way up by 4 semitones, B-flat is only going to go up by 3 semitones, our C note is going to go up by 3 semitones, our C sharp note or our D flat note is going to go up by 4 semitones, but our E flat note is going to go up by 5 semitones. Let's go to the front panel and program that. Let's start by accessing the setup menu. We'll navigate down to global settings and press enter. Then we can page across until we get to scales. And as you can see here, you have 32 custom scales available in the Axe-FX3. So the slot that I want is custom slot number 4. And what I've done is I have gone in and I have programmed in those specific shifts. So like I said, B flat or A sharp goes up 3 semitones, C goes up 3 semitones, C sharp goes up 4 semitones. Our D sharp or our E flat, this is the perfect fourth, that's 5 semitones. And our F note, I think that's a different note in the melody, and our G sharp note or our A flat note, that one goes up 4 semitones, that one goes up 3 semitones, and this is my custom Boys Are Back in Town harmony scale. Now that I've got the custom scale, I can play this part. And I'm going to generate a custom harmony that's this. So as you can see, I've got the custom shifter pitch block. I've connected it in parallel between the amp and the cab. That's just a preference in my case. Don't worry too much about it if you want to connect it in series. One thing I have done is under the master and mod section, set the detector source to input 1. This means that the pitch shifter is going to read the DI signal from my guitar when determining the harmonies. Then I have set the custom scale to be custom scale number 4. That's the location we entered it on the Axe-FX3. I have turned voice 2 off for the time being. I've panned this custom harmony right down the middle. No delay, no detune, and we get this. Beautiful stuff. So you can hear these notes have diatonic third harmonies. And the last note is giving us a diatonic fourth. Wonderful stuff indeed. Now we can have two voices per custom shifter. So I'm going to set custom scale number 4 on voice 2. I'm going to crank the level on both of them up. I'm going to pan them hard left and right, and I'll detune each side a little bit. This will just give me a wider, richer sounding harmony. Now to compensate for this in the cab block, I have gone in and used the stereo input mode, and I've panned a copy of the same cab impulse hard left and hard right so that my stereo imaging will be preserved. We get this. Which I think just kind of sounds a little bit more natural and wider. You get that kind of natural chorusing effect. Not even a chorusing effect, you get that pitch detune width thing going on by having a little bit of detune either way on each of the voices. And you can see I've been quite generous with the low and the high cut. I just find that kind of helps everything sound more natural again. Alrighty, let's move on to another example. I'm going to go over to standard tuning and I'll program another custom scale to do some slightly different things. In this example, I want something different. I'm going to play an ascending melody in A minor, and I'm just going to have each note in the melody harmonize with a different note lower or higher than it. So the first 3 notes I'm going to play are A, B, and C, but they're going to be harmonized with A, G, and F, creating this pattern. Let's hear that with the custom shifter. I've used custom scale 2. Again, I've used the trick where I've used 2 voices and I've detuned them slightly. I've also gone in and I've programmed a couple of other notes in there. Have a listen to this. Really quickly, here is the custom scale for this example. A is going down an octave, B is going down 4 semitones, C is going down 7 semitones, D is also going down 7 semitones, oh look, so is E, F is going down an octave, as is G. So this, essentially, you know, it's not the craziest custom scale there. There's only a couple of real specific harmonies, and there's a bunch of parallel fifths, I guess, and octaves. And what's this interval here? That's a major third. Cool. So that's a really fun one as well. And I've actually taken that preset and tweaked it even further. Check this out. I've got the same custom shift block in there, the same amp, and I've got a little bit of a boost going on there now. I've placed this all after the cabinet because one side is feeding into a Plex reverb, one side is feeding into the crystallizer algorithm, and then I've got delay and reverb on there. This is pretty ridiculous. That just takes my breath away with how beautiful that sounds, and that's not something you could achieve with a traditional pitch shifter or with diatonic harmonies. This is pretty amazing. Let's do one more example, but first I'm going to grab my drop C guitar. So for this example, I'm going to take the chords from the Ragdoll song Shine that I play in the chorus, and I'm going to use the fact that we have 2 pitch blocks with 2 voices available each, meaning 4 potential harmony voices. And I'm going to set each of those voices to a custom scale so that I can play these chords. And there was a lot of programming involved in this, but essentially what I'm going to do is the notes that I normally play on this fourth string are going to be the main notes that I use to trigger the other 4 harmony voices. And there's a couple of little tricks in here because I play 2 versions essentially of the same chord in different parts of the song. So I'm triggering this, I mean, technically it's like an E flat 5, and then I'm playing another voicing with a different note on the top. So what I've done is this E flat note is going to trigger this chord. But then I can't trigger a different chord using these voices. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this note, the B flat, to trigger this chord. Because after all, it's contained in that chord. This is just kind of really silly, and it took a lot of programming and a lot of working out. I will put the custom scales at the end of the video, but if I just engage these 2 different pitch blocks, you can see in this pitch block, I've got custom scale 10, custom scale 11 over here, and then 12 and 13. So I had to use 4 custom scales, but you get this. Which sounds a little bit silly, but what we can do is, we can do this. We can use channel B on these pitch blocks, add some timed delays and a Plex reverb, and now we have essentially like shattered the chords into these rhythmic arpeggios, which, I don't know, just kind of sounds like this. That's so much fun, and it's so inspiring, and it's different, which I like. The Axe-Fx 3 gives us so many options to recreate classic tones or classic harmonies like we heard at the start of the video, but it gives you the tools to take those ideas and be really creative with them and just create sounds that you've never heard before. Like, I never would have thought of doing this with any other piece of gear that I own, but I can, and it was a really interesting creative exercise, and it's probably something that I'll be able to use on future recordings and future projects. So yeah, there is a taste of what you can do with custom scales, from kind of classic guitar harmonies through to whatever you want to do. Or it's really the sky's the limit here. We can essentially have these you know, predetermined 4-voice or 5-voice chords all over the neck, all assignable to the different notes on the guitar. Mind blown. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you have any further questions, leave a comment. Until next time, stay excellent and be good to one another. I'll see you next time. So I'm putting this at the end of the video just because I know people are going to ask. Here are the custom scales that I used for Shine. Custom scale 10, you can see our root note is going down an octave. Basically, the root note for all of those chords is going down an octave, except for this A sharp note, which is going down 7 semitones. The next custom scale 11, this is essentially playing a bunch of perfect fifths or fourths, depending on which way the intervals are going. Our next scale, custom scale 12, is doing a bunch of perfect fifths up, except for a few select notes which are only going up by a minor third. And this one is doing a major 7th interval, which is pretty interesting. That would be that, what was it, the A flat chord or the G sharp thing that I'm doing. And then all the weird, really high harmonies are here. As you can see, this one is an octave and a perfect 2nd. This one's an octave higher. This one is a minor 7th. This one, oh, what is that? Is that a tritone? 6 semitones? 3 tones? Interesting right there. We've got a major 3rd and we've got a major 7th. So kind of all the weird harmonies are living in this final voice. I hope that made sense anyway. This was a really interesting experiment, and I would highly encourage you to play around with it. You do need to know your way around basic intervals on the guitar, and if you don't know that, today's the best time to start. You know, you're watching me on the internet and you're thinking, what am I going to watch next? Go and watch a video about musical intervals. You'll learn something. It's a beautiful thing. See ya.